Hi, my name is Mike Lau, and I'm a clinician at Health Directions. And I would like to spend some time talking to you today about, assertiveness and effective communication. What is assertive communication? Basically, assertive communication is the ability to express positive and negative ideas and feelings in an open, honest, and a direct way. What this does, what assertive communication does, is it recognizes an individual's rights while still respecting the rights of others. It allows us to take responsibility for ourselves and our actions, and it does this without judging or blaming other people. Assertive communication also allows us to constructively confront and find a mutually satisfying solution when we find ourselves in conflict with other people. Why do we use assertive communication, or what's the purpose of assertive communication? It enables us to swap old behavior patterns for a more positive approach to life. There are a lot of advantages of assertive communication. Some of these advantages include it helps us feel good about ourselves and it helps us feel good about other people. It also leads to the development of both mutual respect for ourselves and for others. It helps us increase our own self-esteem, and it helps us achieve our own goals. Assertive communication can also minimize hurting and alienating other people. It helps us reduce our own anxiety, and it will also help us protect us from being taken advantage of by others. In addition, assertive communication can enable us to make decisions and free choices in life. It also enables us to express both verbally and non-verbally a wide range of feelings and thoughts, both positive and negative. So there are a number of advantages to assertive communication. There are basically 6 characteristics of assertive communication. Eye contact. What eye contact does is it helps us demonstrate a level of interest. Body posture. Congruent or equal body language will improve the significance of the message. Gestures. Appropriate gestures help to add emphasis to what we're saying or what we're trying to get across to somebody. Our voice. A level, well-modulated tone is much more convincing and acceptable to others, and it's also not as intimidating. Timing. We use our own judgment to maximize receptivity and impact. And contact is also a characteristic of assertive communication. How, where, and when we choose to comment is probably the most important, or more important than what we say. The importance of I statements. Appropriately expressing your needs, your feelings through the use of I statements. This is extremely important when we're talking about being assertive. The use of I statements, what they do is they help indicate ownership. They don't necessarily attribute blame to other people. They help us focus on behaviors. They help us identify the effective behavior. It's direct, it's honest, and it helps contribute to the growth of the relationship with other people. The elements of I statements. There are basically 5 elements of I statements. We learn to say no. We avoid people who stress us out. We take control of our environment when we use I statements. We also avoid hot button topics when we use I statements. And we also help pare down our own to-do lists when we use I statements. The 6 techniques for assertive communication. One of the things we want to do is we want to basically rehearse in a behavioral manner what we want to say to other people. We want to repeat assertion, knowing what we want to say, how we want to say it, when we want to say it. If we practicing that over and over and repeating that over and over will help us become more assertive in our communication. Things like fogging will help us in our assertive our assertive communication. Negative inquiry will also help in terms of assertive communication. Negative assertion, understanding what we're saying, looking more comfortable in terms of our own behaviors, our own personality, without feeling necessarily defensive or anxious, can reduce our own hostility towards others. If we take a step back for a second, and I want to talk a minute about fogging. This is a technique of allowing one to receive our own criticism in a comfortable manner, without getting anxious, without getting defensive, without rewarding manipulative criticism, for example. To do this, we have to acknowledge our own criticism. We have to agree that there may be some truth to what we say, but there also may not be complete truth to what we say. Okay, we have to kind of remain the judge of our own choice of our action. Negative inquiry. This is again a technique that seeks out criticism about ourselves in close relationship with others in terms of being honest, expressing our own honest opinion, our own negative feelings to improve communication. Again, we want to listen critically to our own comments, clarify our own understanding of what's going on, use that information in a helpful way, but use it in terms of a way that's not manipulative in the conversation. Another technique for assertive communication is a workable compromise. When we feel that our own self-respect is possibly in question, consider some kind of compromise with the other person. We can always kind of bargain for certain goals that we want. If the end goal involves a matter of self-worth or self-respect, chances are there may not be a compromise, but typically we can always bargain for a little bit of compromise within an argument, within a certain piece of the communication that we're looking for. So always try to look for some kind of workable compromise within our communication. Again, these are basically 6 techniques that we can look at when we're talking about assertive communication. Behavioral rehearsal, repeated assertion. That's kind of that broken record, feeling comfortable by ignoring, verbal traps, irrelevant logic, sticking to your point, fogging, negative inquiry, negative assertion, and a workable compromise. In conclusion, assertive communication can be an extremely useful communication tool. It's contextual. You know, we certainly want to use effective communication within the context of whatever we're talking about, whatever communication format that we're working within. The sudden use of assertive communication may be seen as an act of aggression. So it's something that we want to practice, we want to be comfortable with, and we want to remember that there's certainly no guarantee of success. It's something that we can use as a tool when we're communicating with others. I want to thank you again for joining me in this brief conversation about assertiveness and effective communication. Again, I talked about some of the characteristics of assertive communication, some of the different techniques that we can employ with assertive communication. For more information or to schedule an appointment at Health Directions, you can call 815-224-1610. If you have any questions about today's webinar, you can email us at communications@ncbhs.org. If you want more information about some of the other webinars that we've produced, you can contact us on our website at www.healthdirectionsonline.org. Thank you.